Raceway Park, where we are live, the Loctite Chris Liner Van Sprint Cars, the Hardee's Deluxe Racing Series from Clermont. Well, good evening, everyone. Normally, Steve Chassey joins me up here, but he was injured in an Indianapolis car race over the weekend. And joining me is the other Steve here in the central Indiana area, Steve Butler.
Yeah, Larry, I'm really glad to be here, except that I broke my shoulder, and that's why I'm not racing. So this is the next best seat in the house, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Glad to have you, Steve. Okay, now the road to the feature. This is one of the preliminaries that's forming in the racetrack right now. As you can see, we've had 39 entries tonight. We will have 4 heat races. This is the third of those 4 of 8 laps each. The top 4 finishers from each race will move on to the main event. Then there is a semi-feature for all those drivers who have not made it yet. That's their last chance. The feature is 30 laps long. It will start 20 cars. The fastest 6 that make it are inverted, and the winner will pick up $3,000 and perhaps more importantly 60 points toward the National Sprint Car Championship USAC style. The third heat race, here is the row assignments for that. In row number 1 on the inside is pavement specialist from Northwestern Ohio, Roger Bible. Lenny Green in the white number 93G is on the outside. In row number 2, the cars are numbered 71 and 16. They are Michael Lang, and from Toledo, Ohio, Jerry Niemeyer. In the third row, in 5th starting position, is Chip Thomas, and Eric Gordon in the top 5, and USAC points starts on his right side. In the 4th row, side by side, are Greg Staub, a feature winner here at IRP a year ago, and Gary Fidoa, who qualified very well. He's from Michigan. In the 5th and final row, all by himself, starting in scratch position, is car number 18, front center there on your screen, Mike Vandermaas. Now, you know, Steve, in almost every heat race here at IRP the past couple of seasons, there was a clear-cut favorite in this small, relatively small field of 8, 9, or 10 cars in the heat race, but I'm not so sure that this is one of those.
I don't know, Larry. I'm really impressed with Gary Fidoa. He went out very first qualifier and made an outstanding run. Nearly broke Bob Fry's track record, so he kind of set the tone for...
There is Greg Staub, the Cincinnati, Ohio driver who's won a lot of races at the Lawrenceburg Speedway. It's a quarter-mile dirt racetrack near Cincinnati. He is currently 5th in USAC sprint car points, and in a night not all that dissimilar from this a year ago, he won the main event.
He sure did. That was an exciting race. He was going sideways and smoking his tires, and you know, it had everybody on their seats.
And I don't think we've seen very few winners who were more happy than he was in victory lane. He was excited.
He sure was. His whole crew was, you know, was just tickled.
All right, once again, the driver up front will be Roger Bible, and here's a driver from the actually Bryan, Ohio area. That's on the road between Toledo and the Indiana state line. He starts on the pole in this one. He's in that blue number 8 on the inside. He has run primarily pavement his entire career. He would like to do well here. This is a car they spent all winter building at home in the shop.
Are we on?
We've got a green flag, and Bible gets just a horrendous start, and Lenny Green from the outside takes the initial lead, but moving down on the inside is Jerry Niemeyer in that bright red car. It's got a silver number on the side of it. It's Sweet 16. The yellow flag is coming out. Apparently, starter Bill Carey did not like the start. Bible just looked like he was sleeping at the switch.
He sure did, Larry, but did you see Gary Fidoa back in the back? He had it sideways with the right rear smoke and going into the first turn, so I think he's going to do well.
Now, Steve, we might also explain that when there is an aborted start, that the yellow flag does not come out immediately. It comes out for safety reasons as the field exits turn number 2.
That's true, Larry, because if they would throw the yellow immediately, the drivers are so intent on watching the cars directly in front of them that they may not see the yellow, and you could have a situation where the front runners let off the gas and hit the brakes, and everybody behind plows into them. So they allow the cars to stretch out a little bit on that first lap and then see the yellow and slow down progressively.
Okay, if you just joined us, that is Steve Butler talking, the 3-time and defending USAC sprint car champion. He's on the shelf for about a week here because of racing injuries, and he's helping us out tonight. We have another green flag, and this is the second attempt to start heat race number 3. Into the first corner, down on the inside, there goes Niemeyer again. Lenny Green trying to hold on the outside. Niemeyer slides a little bit. Going into turn number 1, and Green puts his foot on the throttle and holds off Niemeyer down the backstretch.
It's a real dogfight going into the third turn. Niemeyer's down low. He's getting a little sideways.
Moving on the outside as the field concludes. Lap number 1 is Eric Gordon. And
Niemeyer's got the lead.
Lenny Green lost power. Something went wrong with the car. Anxious seconds there as Green almost comes to a stop in turn number 2. The car is coasting very slowly, but meanwhile up front, it's a great race.
Stops up to third.
There is Lenny Green. We mentioned he slowed down. There is Staub. No, that's Staub on the inside. On the outside is Eric Gordon. And the red car is Jerry Niemeyer. And there from the back of the pack is Gary Fedewa. He now moves up to third.
Yep, he's going by on the inside of Niemeyer, I believe. Fedewa is really fast. We're only a couple of laps into the race, and he's coming.
Gary Fedewa in that blue number 42 was the first or second qualifier tonight, and he turned in the third best time. It was easily his best qualifying run of 1989. Now, Jerry Niemeyer, we've seen him run repeatedly well in these heat races, and Fedewa is smoking very heavily, and that's not tire smoke.
No, that's engine smoke, Larry. Fedewa could be in trouble.
Roger Bible has spun in turn number 2. The yellow flag coming out as a growling field comes out of turn number 4. You know, at the completion of 4 laps.
It's hard to tell, Larry, but that smoke coming off of Gary Fedewa was probably oil, and he could have put enough down there in the first and second turn to have made it a little slippery. That could have been what happened to Roger Bible. We
have officially completed 3 laps as Mike Vandermaas in turn number 4, car number 18, is also among those who has spun. And that is the question, Steve, is whether or not something has been put down on this racetrack, because it is quite unusual for 2 drivers to spin out like that in 1 lap.
Well, you know, if you'll recall, Larry, in the second heat, Andy Hillenberg was smoking quite heavily for the last 3 or 4 laps.
So the yellow flag continues out. As I mentioned, we have completed 3 laps of this heat race number 3 at Indianapolis Raceway Park. This is one of 3 preliminary races, heat races, that have run up till now. And of course, we'll have 2 more, and the top 4 finishers in each of those preliminaries move on. Well, welcome to Indianapolis Raceway Park. This past week and a half has been a very difficult one. We've had a lot of injuries that have had direct impact on the racing here in the Midwest. Those of you who were watching 1 week ago, of course, saw Eddie Horn injured very seriously in a crash here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Eddie is recovering. We'll have more of that a little later. Eddie, as you can see, from Defiance, Ohio, is 28 years of age, and he is the defending champion of the All-American Midget Racing Association. Now, Steve Butler is joining us, and Steve himself is one of those drivers who has been injured recently, and that's just part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is, Larry. Nobody likes to see it, but you know, if you race cars long enough, you're bound to get banged up a little bit, and I'm just glad that I'm not hurt too bad, and you know, I plan on being back in a race car in a week or 2.
Well, Bruce Field, Phil Kruger in an Indianapolis car among those who have been injured. They're all on the mend, and we'll have a little more on that a little later. Now, on the brighter side of things, Rich Vogler, who has been perhaps the most successful USAC driver on ESPN, has a chance to make history tonight. If he wins the main event, and incidentally, he was the fast qualifier with a brand new track record, it would be his 163rd main event win. That would make him the winningest driver in the 35-year history of the United States Auto Club. Quite a record.
That sure is, Larry, but you have to remember that Voigt has many more national wins. He's got 30 more national wins, but you still can't take anything away from Rich Vogler. You know, 163 wins of any kind is sure an accomplishment.
And that includes national wins, as Steve pointed out, as well as regional wins in the Indianapolis area, as well as races like at Phoenix, Arizona, or what have you. There you can see the cleanup work going on there in turn number 1. We are speculating that Gary Fedewa was putting some liquid down on the racetrack, and it looks like that the number 18 car of Mike Vandermaas perhaps crashed in addition to just spinning. He is sitting down on the inside of turn number 4. Well, Gary Lee will be in the pits as always tonight, and he is standing by with Lenny Green, who has started this race on the outside of the front row.
Lenny, it looked good for a while. What happened?
Well, car jumped out of gear coming out of turn 4, and so I went backwards quickly. But we're blowing a little bit of oil. It's a new motor, and the rings haven't seated yet.
That's a very scary situation to lose power immediately, and there's not really anything you can do but hope that nobody behind you collects you.
Well, I tried to get my hand up as quick as I could and keep her straight and let everybody else dice for themselves and see what happens.
How are the track conditions right now?
It's a little bit slick, but it's better than it was earlier in the day. They had a couple blown engines, and the oil was all over the place, but it's better now.
Well, earlier in qualifications, we had a new track record set by Rich Vogler. In fact, he had the record a few weeks ago. It was taken away by Bob Fry in the V6 Chevy, but tonight it was a V6 Buick, a power plant that Rich hopes to take to NASCAR racing and Winston Cup competition next year. But a brand new track record for Rapid Rich. He, of course, is leading the USAC point standings.
That is Rich standing by with wife Emily, and we might talk a little bit about that a little later, Steve, that he set that with a 6-cylinder, which is pretty incredible. The V8s, of course, have been dominating for a long time. Well, tonight's USAC sprint car races here at the Indianapolis Raceway Park, the Hardee's Deluxe Racing Series, are being brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by Scope, the best thing, first thing in the morning. And by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. Well, the will continue for a few moments here, so we'll take this break. There is the top 5 in heat race number 3. Eric Gordon, Jerry Niemeyer, Greg Staub, David Harrison now moves up to 4th, and Michael Lang is 5th. Gary Fiedable, who was the fastest qualifier in this race, is also pulled off.
From Rocky Mountain snow to Florida sun, Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
Mine's pushing 250,000 miles.
Quaker State engines run strong and run long.
95,000 miles and no problem.
Quaker State is quality engineered to exceed every single car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection.
This car's new. I'd be stupid not to use Quaker State.
Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will.
Don't let morning breath ruin a good morning. Use Scope. Scope has 2 powerful ingredients to kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath. Scope, the best thing, first thing in the morning.
All of these championship-winning drivers had one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the Goodyear Eagle line of high-performance street radials, the best-selling performance tires in the world. Goodyear Eagles, for the spirit of a champion that's in all of us.
Retailers like me are doing our part to help fight muscular dystrophy. And you can too. With every Budweiser or Bud Light you buy through Labor Day, you'll help make a contribution. So come on, join the team.
We're back live at Indianapolis Raceway Park for Thursday Thunder. To amplify on that track record turned in by Rich Vogler, every part on the race car has a part to play. This is the right rear Hoosier tire. This is what we call a gumball. It's a very soft tire. It was purchased for one purpose, and that was to get the track record. It is very soft. It is good for about 8 laps. It only takes 2 to qualify. So they slapped this right rear on. He went out and set the track record. They took it back off. Rich says, well, we'll use it maybe 2 or 3 more times. Its sole purpose, $200 worth of tire to qualify. It served its purpose with the Buick V6.
Indeed, it did, Gary. And a Buick V6 is very interesting. Now, Vogler won the last race at Berlin Raceway up in Marne, Michigan. That's near Grand Rapids. And that was in a Buick. And we cannot remember, and I was talking with the USAC officials, when was the last time a non-Chevrolet won a USAC sprint car race? It's got to go back to 1960.
Yeah, I believe it did. And as a matter of fact, Chevrolet has won every USAC championship since '61 and all World of Outlaw championships. So even though Buick is making some inroads in short track racing, I think our friends at Chevrolet, Jim Perkins and Ralph Kramer, are pretty comfortable that they'll be successful for a long time to come.
So Vogler really making some historical waves here in 1989. We told you if he wins tonight, he exceeds Foyt. He won in a Buick for the first time in almost 30 years. Those Chevrolets, by the way, were introduced to USAC short track racing by Jim Hurtubise and Parnelli Jones, who of course joined us during the spring part of Thursday Thunder at Ascot Park. The green flag is flickering. The field is down to 5 cars, and heat race number 3 is finally back underway. The leader is Eric Gordon in that white red trim number 75, and that is Toledo, Ohio's Jerry Niemeyer running in second.
Yeah, you know, Eric Gordon has really moved along real good. Last time we were at IRP with the Cusack Sprint cars, he was very impressive. So he's a young driver, and I think he has a real good future, especially on the pavement.
Now these drivers, of course, are running on this track. There is David Harrison in the second red car in line. They're going through that quick dry, Steve, for the first time. Does that bother you when you're sitting in the cockpit? Do you think, geez, I hope the crews did their job?
But it sure does. I always try to go just a little bit above it or below it. And I don't like to get all four wheels in at once, Larry, because you don't need any surprises, especially when you're leading the race on a restart.
Now this is second, third, and fourth. They should stay in that line. They're all going to make the main event, but each one of them wants to do the best he possibly can. Basically, these are classrooms, these preliminaries, although you're trying to make the main too.
Right. Everybody is using this as kind of a tune-up. You know, they might make a small weight change or a small stagger change in the feature to get their cars really fast. So they're going to, you know, they can't go out there and just stroke it. They have to run the cars as hard as they can and see what they're going to do so they can be prepared for the feature.
Jerry Niemeyer in the bright red number 16. He is from Toledo, Ohio. His father was a famous modified and stock car driver in the Toledo, Ohio area in the 1950s. Jerry saw his father die in a race car. In second is Greg Staub. Greg Staub, who has done well here on these televised races, as I told you earlier, from the Cincinnati, Ohio area. And in third is yet another second-generation driver. That is David Harrison. His father, Darrell Harrison, is a twice winner of the Little 500.
Yeah, you know, David really got my attention last year when I was leading one of these races and my wheel broke.
That.
And I spun coming off of the second turn, and David did a fantastic job of pirouetting and then just missing me by inches.
This is the checkered flag coming up. Now, Eric Gordon is going to win very easily. Second place could be side by side. Staub dives down low in the white car, but Jerry Niemeyer holds him off. Greg Staub is third, and David Harrison comes home fourth. And those three cars, in addition to Eric Gordon, move on to the main event. So Eric Gordon, who is currently ranked fourth with 678 points in USAC National Championship standings, wins heat race number 3 here and moves on to the main event. Now, incidentally, on those standings, Rich Vogler has crept ahead of young Jeff Gordon, who led the standings for the first couple months of the season. But Gordon picks up the win, and now we have qualified 12 cars. Steve, the importance of qualifying in a heat race. It really is something that's significant. Back to that point in a second. Here is the official order finish. Gordon, Niemeyer, Staub, Harrison, and fifth was Michael Lang in car number 75. We began to talk about the importance of finishing up high in the heat race. We'll be back with more on that story after this. We're going to take a break right now as we are getting ready for heat race number 4, the fourth opportunity to move on to the main event.
Ouch! You ready to go, Jack? I can't leave now. I just got started mowing the lawn, and I can't finish until I get the stupid blade sharpened again. It just keeps tearing the grass. What do you do, Don? Your lawn always looks great.
Oh, I don't sharpen blades anymore. I got a forever sharp blade. It's guaranteed.
Guaranteed?
Guaranteed.
It's sharp when you need it. It's sharp when you need it. It's nice to know it's always sharp when you need it. It's forever sharp, and it permanently bonds to any lawnmower blade with a space-age adhesive. It's guaranteed for as long as you own your mower. The secret to a beautiful lawn is the blade, not the mower. So stop beating your lawn to death and start cutting it. Get your forever sharp now. It's the last lawnmower blade you'll ever need. Send $9.95 plus $3 postage and handling to Forever Sharp, P.O. Box 7705, Fort Myers, Florida 33911. Or have your credit card ready and call now, 1-800-544-1000.
Hold on tight. The battle for the World Driving Championship continues. Formula One drivers head to Budapest for the next stop, the Grand Prix of Hungary, Sunday afternoon at 5 Eastern on ESPN.
Back in Clermont, Indiana at the Indianapolis Raceway Park, where Thursday Thunder continues. Now, many of you know, of course, that Steve Chassey normally joins me here in the booth, but we have to go to him tonight. He's at home recovering from injuries suffered in the Indianapolis car race at the Michigan International Speedway this past Sunday. Now, Steve has injuries to his tailbone, which prevent him from going upstairs. But Steve, out here at the park, we miss you very much.
Thanks, Larry. I wish I could be there also tonight for Thursday Thunder. But as you can see, I'm going to be laid up here at home for a while. I'm relaxing on my couch.
Steve, I'm told you walked to the race car under your own power. What's the status now?
Yeah, well, Dr. Trammell said that I'd be laid up on crutches for 6 to 8 weeks, and that would be 14 weeks before I can get back in a race car. So I'm going to have to get used to being immobile taking it very slow for quite a while. I would rather be there on Thursday Thunder, and I'd rather be in a race car for the dirt car season, but this is the way it is, and I have to accept this. I wish I was there because I enjoy doing the Thursday Thunder, and I would like to make a statement about last week's Thursday Thunder midget program. I feel as though I called the incident with Rich Vogler, Don Schilling, and Jeff Gordon exactly the way it happened, and I would call it the same way again tonight if I were there. But I do feel as though I stepped a little overboard and made a statement out of the emotions rather than being a journalistic statement at the very end, and I have to apologize for that statement. But the rest of the statements I stand behind fully, and like I say, if I were there tonight, I would do the same thing again if necessary, if I saw it that way and I called it that way.
Well, okay, Steve, we'll plan on seeing you next week back here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. But right now, we're ready for tonight's heat race number 4. There you see it lining up on the racetrack. In front of your very eyes, it's Larry Fritz, another local driver in that white, red, and blue trim, number 8 on the inside. He'll start in the pole position. Jeff Bloom, another pavement specialist from the Kalamazoo, Michigan area, is flanked on his right. On the inside of row number 2 is Bill Tyler, the racing school teacher, and Chip Thomas in a yellow and orange number 34 is on the outside. Leon Thixon in the Larry Davis black and red number 96 will start in 5th position, and in 6th is Jim Mullis in car number 30, another top 10 runner in the point standings. Starting in 7th is Mark Alderson, originally from Timber Lake, South Carolina, and Wayne Hammond from Florida, who won a feature race here earlier this year, starts in 8th position. Bobby Allen, yes, the dirt track racing Bobby Allen from Hanover, Pennsylvania, was scheduled to go in 9th position, but Steve, I don't see him out there.
No, he got here late, Larry, and didn't have a chance to practice at all. And of course, they've never run that track on pavement, or that car on pavement before, and I think that they elected, not to start at the tail of the program.
It was another 6-cylinder car. It ran last night at the Kokomo, Indiana Speedway and finished 13th after starting 28th. We have a green flag to start heat race number 4, and into turn number 1, that's Jeff Bloom, the Kalamazoo, Michigan area race driver in the white and blue trim number 67, who takes the initial lead.
Yes, he sure does. Oh, we have somebody hitting the wall on turn 2. I think it's Jim Mullis.
Jim Mullis in the black number 30 got into the outside wall and came across the racetrack right in front of Mark Alderson. And Mark probably had some anxious moments and thinking back to what happened a week ago here.
Yes, it looks like Jim has broken his right rear suspension, so I don't think we'll be able to see him continue in the race, Larry. We'll have to have a restart.
Talking about that incident of a week ago, we've had a lot of people ask questions, and if you missed the top of this show, Eddie Horn, who was injured, is recovering. There is no threat of permanent injury. Here is the replay on what happened here at the start of heat race number 4.
Yeah, it looks like Jim got his left front tire into the right rear of the car ahead of him, and it just jumped his front end up, and out he went into the wall.
Pavement is so unforgiving, isn't it?
Yes, you have to be very precise on pavement and not make any false moves, and once the car gets away from you, it can really be serious.
It looked like it was Bill Tyler that he actually scooted over Bill Tyler, and look at Mark. From that angle, you really get an idea as to how close that really was.
That was very close.
Here it is. Here's one more look at it. That's the number 96 car of Leon Thixon down on the inside. Now there goes Mullis on the outside wall. Watch for the white car of Alderson.
Well, he just squeezed through there. It's a good thing that he didn't hit the brakes and slow down anymore. He wouldn't have gotten through in time to avoid hitting.
You know, that's what I thought happened last week. For those of you who are watching, Eddie Horn collided with the outside wall on turn number 3, and Mel Kenyon broadsided him as the car came across the racetrack. It was not a predictable obstacle. The car sped up, it slowed down, it was coming off the wall. Mel, I didn't feel like had a fair opportunity to predict what the car was going to do.
I think you're absolutely right, Larry. A similar situation happened to me at a race at Eldora. The cars were flipping and up against the wall, and I went low, and I thought I was clear, and then all of a sudden here they come off the wall and right down in front of me, and I ended up hitting them, and people say, how do you do that? Why did you hit them? And when you're in the race car and things are happening very fast, it's hard to predict which way the cars are going to go, and you make a commitment, and you have to live with it after it happens.
Speaking about Eldora, very quickly, Steve Chassey is home watching. You're here, but you're a little hurt too, aren't you? What happened to you this weekend?
Well, I got into the third turn wall down there at at Eldora and got upside down a few times and broke my left shoulder blade. So that's the second bone for me this year. I've raced cars for 8 years and never broken any bones before. So
that's the other side from the injuries of the Indianapolis car wreck. So not the same shoulder side. We have a green flag here to start heat race number 4. And once again, there goes one of the 2 original Michigan monsters. That's Jeff Bloom along with Marv Carman. They hit the USAC division about 15 years ago and won a lot of races on pavement.
Yeah, Jeff's got a relatively new car. He just got it this year, and he's done quite a lot of modifications to it down at the Lloyd Shore shop. So it looks to be working real well for him.
The field stays close as we complete lap number 1, and Larry Fritz is in second in that white number 8. Meanwhile, now down to Gary Lee for an update.
Well, this could be a very significant win for Jeff Bloom. He has been struggling all evening. He's trying to change that car over from a coil front to a 4-bar, and he says the car is not handling down the straightaway. He can get through the turn, but the long straightaway wants to dart and surge. Maybe Steve Butler could explain that further. But the car not handling all that well, but he's still out in front in a car that he owns and operates.
That blue car moving up on the inside is Wayne Hammond, and he is coming on toward Jeff Bloom.
Yes, he's made great strides, and here he goes on the inside. It looks, whoops, he got a little push there, almost got into Bloom.
Well, Gary was asking a question about the setting up of this race car. As we see Hammond, it looks like he's easily going to go inside of Jeff Bloom, amplified.
Yes, the sprint cars are inherently unstable on straightaways anyway. Because they're so narrow, the steering linkage cannot go through the center of the car because the engine's in the way. So you have quite an elaborate set of linkage and bell cranks and rods that go around the outside of the car, and it makes them very imprecise going down the straightaway.
And particularly on pavement, you're going so quickly and everything happens so fast that it's very difficult to keep the car going straight. And when you're riding in it, you'll actually sense that thing darting back and forth. It's not a straight line.
No, it definitely darts. You have to really work hard, Larry, to keep it, going where you want on the straightaways.
There is third position, fourth and fifth and sixth. Third position is right now held by Larry Fritz in car number 8. And running in fourth position is Chip Thomas in that yellow and orange car. And in fifth, fighting for a position into the main event, is Billy Tyler.
It looks like Billy Tyler's going low down into 3 sometimes, trying to pass people. And I think you see more passing down in turn 3, Larry, because the track is smoother down there. When you try to go low in turn 1, there's a series of ripples in the track that make it hard to hold your line. So we'll probably see more passing, at least on the low side, in turn 3 tonight.
Now, Leon Dixon, as you can see, just as Steve was commenting about trying to pass in number 1, finds it difficult. He in that black and red trim car did not get around Tyler. Now, the white flag is coming up this time around for the leader, Wayne Hammond. Wayne Hammond is still leading this race easily. Jeff Bloom is second. And there on your screen is third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And just as the white flag comes out, that smoke is from Jeff Bloom. No crash. It was a mechanical problem, and I would say that's probably it.
Yes, and it looks like it may be terminal. That was a big plume of smoke without any warning, so I think that Jeff Bloom has probably blown his engine, and he may be out for the night.
Now, the green remains out as the checker is up for Wayne Hammond, but this will move one more car up into the main event that didn't expect to make it. There is a side-by-side finish for second and third as we're following the leader, Wayne Hammond, who has won heat race number 4 here. Wayne Hammond, who was the 4th fastest overall qualifier, and based on his experiences and his performance earlier this year, this guy is a threat to win the main event tonight now that he has moved in.
Yes, that's definitely true, Larry. He's going to be fast.
And there is Jeff Bloom, and Jeff has to be very disappointed. You heard Gary earlier talking about all the work they've done on the chassis of this car to try and get it going, and sometimes that happens. You spend sometimes all winter, at least all week. Don't think about the engine, and that's what goes away.
Yeah, that's just a part of racing. That's the heartbreaking part. People don't understand how much effort and how much work it takes behind the scenes to try to prepare a race car, and sometimes you just feel like you're thrashing, going nonstop, and when the race goes well, it's all worth it, but when you have the same outcome as Jeff Bloom, it's very depressing, and you wonder about changing sports.
Wayne Hammond from the state of Florida, who did not have, we thought, at least for many of the Midwestern fans, that much pavement experience, but as it turns out, this guy has a lot of pavement experience running down in Florida. He's been in a championship dirt car, and he won at Salem earlier this year. As we look at the top 5 finishers here in heat race number 4, it's Wayne Hammond, Larry Fritz, Chip Thomas, Bill Tyler, and Leon Dixon. Then Hammond came back and won here at IRP after that Salem race, and he said later that those 3 or 4 weeks when he won those 2 USAC races on pavement were the biggest nights, the biggest months really of his career. He's won a heat race here tonight, and he's with Gary Lee.
And we have talked to the veteran from Tampa in Victory Lane before here at Raceway Park, but now let's talk about track conditions. The last heat race winner, Eric, said it was very slick out there and it's getting worse.
Well, I really thought the track was working pretty good. I didn't find much slippage and all out there, and I think the track is in much better condition than it was this time, the last time we ran here at this time in the program.
Now, you came up here for a 3-week vacation from your job down in Tampa, started winning every race you were in, and decided to elongate it or take a leave of absence, but you're staying a little longer.
Yes, sir. I took a leave of absence from where I worked at the Chevrolet dealership in Tampa and just come up here and went racing.
You better give them a plug, because if you just say a Chevrolet dealership, they're going to fire you when you get home.
That's Abraham Chevrolet in Tampa, Florida.
All right, there you have it. That's going to cost you. There he is, the heat race winner #4, and we'll see more from him in the feature.
And guess what? Wayne Hammond uses a Chevy engine, as you might expect. Well, Brenda is 40. Brenda, that's what they told us. Now, we're not the one passing this along. Brenda Stafford, she is the executive secretary for USAC President Dick King. She is celebrating her 40th birthday today, and incidentally, Dick King is also celebrating his birthday today as well. No age listed. Also, congratulations to Ron Riello, the Chiron operator of ESPN's Thursday Thunder. His wife had a baby yesterday. All parties doing fine. Ralph III, Ralph Riello.
Life's full of simple pleasures, like the comfort of Levi's jeans. Or had you forgotten?
This is how a Ferrari Testarossa looks on the road. And this is how a Ferrari Testarossa looks to the road, where it ultimately responds through the contact patch of its Goodyear Eagle tires. The exclusive tires chosen by Ferrari for every Testarossa sold in America. Goodyear Eagles, because there really is a difference.
Listen to my nephew. He's gonna be a lawyer like me. He's even gonna look like me.
Oh, really? So does that mean on his first big trial day, the jury's gonna notice his winning smile?
Yeah.
And his great suit.
Yeah.
Oh, his little flakes.
No, dandruff? Me?
Oh, it can happen to perfect people. Here, just use my shampoo.
Head and shoulders. But you don't have dandruff.
I rest my case.
Head and Shoulders, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Just when you thought you knew which battery was best for your car, along comes this dynamo. Interstate Megatron 34, the runaway leader in every performance test by America's leading consumer product rating service. Here's cranking power that ran circles around better-known brands and reserve energy that left others stranded. The Interstate Megatron 34. A bit of a show-off, perhaps. But then it did test best. Call 1-800-CRANK-IT for the dealer near you.
Somewhere between here and there, the space shuttle is up there orbiting around, but I'll bet you we got a little better picture than even they do right now.
Yeah, that's a pretty good zoom shot we have there, Larry.
That's a half of a full moon, right? Okay. Over Clermont, Indiana, the Indianapolis Raceway Park, where Thursday Thunder continues. Tonight we are featuring the sprint cars of the United States Auto Club Division, but earlier this week, Gary had an opportunity to visit with Eddie Horn, the Defiance, Ohio driver who was injured so seriously here at Indianapolis Raceway Park 1 week ago tonight.
1 week ago, the Lifeline helicopter brought race driver Eddie Horn to Methodist Hospital. After spending a couple of days in the intensive care unit, Eddie was moved to his own private room where we talked with him.
I really don't remember a whole lot about what happened. I do know that I was up there racing with them, and I must have hooked a tire on the car in front of me, and it got everything started, evidently. And after that, they said another car hit me, and you know, I really don't have any recollection of that. They said I have a broken hip and a fractured skull and a lot of bruises, you know, everywhere on my body. But I just like to say we'll be back as soon as we can. It might be a, you know, a ways to go, but we'll be back. And I'd just like to say hi to my boy at home right now. I haven't seen him for all week, so hopefully soon I'll see him and everybody else.
Eddie also asked to thank everyone who sent him cards and flowers. He's been flooded with well-wishers. And Mel Kenyon received 13 stitches in a leg, and of course he was shaken pretty badly, but he too is going to be back to race another day. And he commented that it was just one of those situations. We were talking about this, Steve, before we went on the air tonight, that you know, it might have been classified as a mistake by the 7-time USAC National Midget Champion, but we don't think so. Things happen so quickly, and it was simply not a predictable object that he was trying to judge what was going to happen next.
No, that's definitely true, Larry. You know, Horn's car was up on the wall sliding, and it looked like it was going to stay there, and I'm sure that Mel saw it and made a decision to go low.
Well, Gary Lee, of course, has been close to this story all week long. And Gary, do you have any more that you can add to the Eddie Horn situation?
Well, Larry, as you well know, it's a very difficult situation for a broadcaster to have to go to a hospital room and talk with an injured driver, but his spirits are very good. I was pleased with his demeanor, and the real good story is that surgery at this point is not warranted. So Dr. Terry Trammell says a few more days in the hospital, and they will take him back to Defiance, Ohio, where his home will be equipped with a hospital bed, and all he needs right now is a lot of rest. And I said, any plans to come back? He said, certainly, as soon as I can, I'll be back. He has a 2-year-old son. I said, well, any thoughts about him racing? He said, sure, why not? So in typical race driver fashion, let's get back as quickly as we can.
Eddie Horn, who is the defending champion of the All-American Midget Racing Association, an association of cars that runs around Ohio, Michigan, and southern Michigan and Indiana. And of course, Eddie, we understand, is on hand from his hospital bed in Methodist Hospital watching us tonight. So Eddie, we salute you, as we do Bruce Field and all the other racing drivers who normally join us on Thursday Thunder.
Interested in a better hand soap? Not me. I can cope. I don't need no lava soap, no. Regular soap won't always work, but lava with pumice will. Interested? No, no, no. Lava, the don't try to cope without it soap.
How do you keep a major city running smoothly? Atlanta does it with Quaker State Motor Oil. In every fire truck, every police car, every Atlanta city-owned vehicle.
The big Q stands for quality.
Howdy. Everything's up to date. Stopped you for speeding. You still live on the same address?
511, no wanton warrants on your subject or motorcycle.
Suppose you can remember we have a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit?
Yes, sir.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Thanks.
There's no place on earth that I'd rather be than out in the open where it's all plain to see. If it's gonna get done, it's up to you and to me. There's no place that I'd rather be. Head for the mountains of Bush. Head for the mountains of Bush. Beer.
It's going to be one of those finishes, ladies and gentlemen. Stand by. See road course rivals Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace battle in the Budweiser at the Glen. Sunday afternoon, live on ESPN. The Bills hope it's payback time. The Bengals await this AFC Championship rematch. Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann bring you the head-to-head action of Sunday Night NFL, live on ESPN.
Watkins Glen, New York for the Formula One. No, just kidding. Winston Cup stock cars are now the main attraction annually at Budweiser at the Glen. Watkins Glen, the road course there, of course, that was the site 20, 25 years ago of Formula One racing annually. But now the stars from the Winston Cup circuit move there. And of course, the big question is, can Ricky Rudd, who won here a year ago and one of the acknowledged masters of NASCAR on a road course, win? If he could capture the pole as well as the victory, he would win an additional $130,000 in the Unocal Challenge. Somewhat more than the USAC Sprint Car Championship, right?
Yeah, it sure is, Larry.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind driving those things.
The semi-feature is now taking place on the track. This is the last opportunity for drivers to move into the main event. Qualifying is not enough. It only determines your relative starting positions in the heat races. The top 4 finishers in each of 5 preliminaries move on to the main, and here is the last one. Row number 1, the fastest qualifier yet to make the main, Gary Fidowa, starts on the inside of it, and Andy Hillenberg from Indiana is on the outside in car number 25. In the second row, the bright white number 52 of Mark Alderson and Jim Molis in car number 30. In the third row, Dave Dernwald from Tiffin, Ohio on the inside, and on the outside, Leon Thixon. In row number 4, flanking right and left, are Red Stouffer on the outside and Frank Weiss on the inside. In the fifth row, Michael Lang and Tim Chaplin in one of 2 cars numbered 8 here tonight. And in the 6th row, the cars are numbered 65. It's Tony Elliott, it's Seastray Green and white, and Lenny Green in car number 93G. In row number 7, 13th and 14th starting positions, Jeff Bloom on the inside, Charlie Workman Jr. in the gold number 45. In the 8th row, Rusty McClure in a yellow number 1, a new entry this week here at IRP, and Brent Whited in a very old race car, but still solid on pavement in car number 38. In the 9th row on the inside is Roger Anderson, and on the outside, scheduled to go was Bobby Allison. Bobby Allen make that. Boy, talk about Freudian slips. And in the 10th row, Bill Roynan, the veteran from Florida, on the inside, and Brad Armstrong on the outside. Well, if Fidowa has solved his problems, he should have this one all to himself. Now, there is the number 22 car of Brad Armstrong, who was supposed to ride shotgun on this field. They're in 20th and last starting position, but apparently Brad is unable to go. He's just 19 years of age. He is enrolled currently at Vincennes University, currently a major in marketing management at Vincennes. He holds a lot of national titles in enduro kart racing, and he had high hopes to do well in a sprint car here tonight at IRP, but not so. Steve, we were talking a little earlier about the importance of making it through the heat races. It takes a lot of pressure off, doesn't it?
It sure does, Larry, but, you know, on the other hand, sometimes I like to run the B-main, because as I was saying before, you need that time on the track to tweak the car, make those fine-tuned adjustments to make it fast, and sometimes I'd rather run the B-main, except I'm always scared I'll have a flat tire or something and not make the feature, so I always get in through the heat when I can. Here's the start of the race.
12 laps to go, and it could be a real scramble for 3rd and 4th. The green flag is out, a bit of a ragged start. Bill Carey is watching the field. No, the yellow flag is going to come out. He is going to call off that start. Yes, as the field strings out going down the backstretch, everybody decelerates and gets through this in fine fashion.
You know, that's Andy Hillenberg there. He seems to be smoking, and he's had trouble with that in the heat race already. And I recall the last USAC sprint car race, he was smoking quite a bit and was primarily responsible for putting all the oil down in the feature, which helped contribute to my little incident.
Now, Steve, people at home are going to ask, look, you say he had that problem before. Why do you have those reoccurring problems when it seems so obvious that you just go to it and fix it?
I don't know. Sometimes you have, you might have a ring problem where really the gaskets are good on the car, and you wouldn't normally have a leak. But if your rings leak, you get a lot of blow-by past the pistons that pressurizes the crankcase and tends to force the oil out. So they may have, a more insidious problem like that that isn't obvious.
Is it more a question of the quality of the parts or preparation?
Well, Jim McQueen is the mechanic on that car, and he's a...
Seems like it wouldn't be preparation, doesn't it?
Sometimes you just have bad luck.
Jim McQueen has been around Central Indiana for a long time. He's been fielding sprint cars. He first surfaced really on ESPN back when we went on the air in 1979 as a crew chief on the Bubby Jones car. And Bubby, of course, was going after the sprint car championship that year, going head-to-head with probably Greg Leffler in 1979. There is Jim McQueen and crew going to work, looking at race car over.
Yeah, I don't... that looks like Jim bent over there, over the engine.
Field rumbles out of turn number 4. Bill Carey stands up tall, waves the green flag, and they scramble into turn number 1, and Fidowa takes the first lead.
Yeah, Fidowa jumped right out there. In the original start, Andy Hillenberg got a little bit of a lead, but now it looks like Fidowa, and here comes Alderson.
Down on the inside in that
Oh, look at Tim
21.
Champlin.
There's Champlin using a lane that you're familiar with.
Yeah. That looked good. He did that in the heat race, too, and he's a pretty aggressive racer.
Remember, the first 4 cars will move on to the main event. They're the last 4 that's going to make it. Fidowa has the lead, very comfortable. Mark Alderson is running in 2nd place, and they are distancing themselves from the rest of the field. There is 3rd and 4th.
He's trying it again, and it looks like he's got it. Leon Thixton had to let off the gas just a little bit right there. So Tim Champlin got ahead of him.
Jim Champlin, who's been going to the Steve Butler School of Motor Racing here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, moves into third, but right now the number 96 car of Thixton is still in fourth. Gary is standing by with Andy Hillenberg.
Very uncharacteristic, Andy, for you to be in the semi. I know you're not happy. What's wrong with the power plant?
Well, earlier in the evening, we dropped a piston ring, I believe, and we were trying to race it on 7 cylinders here in the semi. Earlier in the heat race, when we had our trouble, we had to come in and therefore didn't finish our heat race, and that put us in the B. And we're just trying to run on 7 cylinders. I got a couple of pretty good crew members, and they just tried to make the best out of a bad situation. Unfortunately, it just isn't our night.
All right, so an early out of spectator, Andy Hillenberg.
Well, Gary, while we were talking to Andy Hillenberg, we're watching Brad Anderson make that Roger Anderson right now. In that red number 17, he's running at the back of the pack, and Anderson has been struggling to keep up. We've had a change up front. We can see Roger Anderson, one of the, let's call him, most veteran drivers here.
Yes, he's even before my time, and I guess he's close to 60 years old. Is that right?
Roger Anderson, absolutely right. He runs in approximately 12th position here in the semi-feature. Up front, Fedewa continues to lead. There he is, completing lap number 6. Alderson is second there in the white car. Chaplin moves into third position, and the number 21 car of Brett Stauffer has moved into fourth. As we look at Gary Fedewa, we think back about Hillenberg. He was the 6th fastest qualifier tonight, which means had he been able to make the main event, he would have started from the pole.
That's got to be a heartbreak for him, Larry. But the 7th fast qualifier is rejoicing. We can be sure he'll be very glad to start on the pole.
Well, just a couple of laps ago, we were showing you Roger Anderson, and now Roger has spun out and collided with the outside wall. He is dismounting, and apparently he's got severe damage there to that machine.
Yes, it's hard to tell from here, Larry, what happened that got him into the wall. We don't see any obvious damage to the car there on either one of the right side tires, so it may have just been that he got into a slick spot on the track.
You know, another driver who is not going to make the main event tonight, and we need to make mention of him because he is such a fixture at the top, is Bob Fry. Glenn Nibel, 6-year-old granddaughter, succumbed to cancer this week, and needless to say, it was a very tragic affair, and we pass our sympathies along to Glenn Nibel and his entire family. And because of that, Glenn did not bring the race car, and Bob Fry is also sitting home. Now, Gary is standing by with a familiar fixture on the Indianapolis car circuit. Not a driver, but I'll let Gary tell you all about it.
Well, I think we could do an entire show with interviews and the notables we have down here in the pit area this evening. This is Owen Snyder, who is Al Unser Jr.'s crew chief, but you're also wearing a Steve Kinzer World of Outlaws t-shirt because Steve is your brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's right. We went to a race last night in Kokomo, and I don't get a lot of time off from the Indy cars. It's a pretty busy schedule, and we went to Kokomo last night and watched Steve run. He ran second. He wasn't real happy. He's not happy when he doesn't win, but he put on a great show.
There are a lot of ties to sprint car racing because I think Al Jr. was probably the last sprint car driver to come on up and get a regular IndyCar ride, and your grassroots, as it were, are in this type of competition.
Well, that's right, Gary. I started out, I worked on sprint cars for about 5 or 6 years, and I can appreciate all the hard work that the sprint car guys do, and even the drivers. In the old days, that's where the drivers came from, the midget and the sprint car ranks, and worked their way up. And I just feel real privileged to be able to work with Al Jr. and then also him coming up and probably being the last one of the sprint car guys really making it big.
Have a good time here tonight. They don't have wings on them, but they're putting on a great show out here.
Sure will. Thanks a lot, Gary.
Owen Snyder.
6 of 12 laps down in the semi-feature. It's Fedewa, Alderson, Chaplin, Red Stauffer, and Leon Thixton, 1 through 5. And remember, just the first 4 will move on to the main event. In addition to that race last night at Kokomo that Gary and Owen were talking about, they raced at Winchester here last evening in the Central Ohio area. Gene Lee Gibson, a competitor tonight, won the super modified sprint car race, and Jack Calabrese, one of our regular midget drivers, won the midget portion. We go back to green and start lap number 7. And Red Stauffer put the big move on coming down the front stretch, but he almost paid the ultimate price for it, didn't he?
Yes, Leon Dixon looks like he's looking for room on the outside there, Larry.
Leon Dixon in that black car looks to the high side of the bright red number 21 of Red Stauffer, but not enough room there. Stauffer really gathers it back in.
Yeah, the 4th through 8th places are pretty close, so we can have quite a bit of changes here.
Steve, you know, a lot of people who watch these broadcasts are pretty dyed-in-the-wool race car fans, and they ask some very meaningful technical questions. And once again, the question of stagger has come up as we look at the number 1 car of Rusty McClure, bright yellow, going to the inside. Basically, it simply refers to the difference in the circumference of the rear tires, but there's a little more to it.
Well, that's basically true, and you know, on a track like this, you run about 2.5 to 3 inches stagger, and that's really the main instrument for tuning the handling of the car. If the car doesn't want to turn when it gets to the end of the straightaway, you put more stagger in it, and if the car wants to slide and smoke the right rear tire, then you take stagger out. But the difficult part is you have to set it before the race starts, and then sometimes it changes because of air pressure changes in the tire or what have you. The stagger that you end up with will not be what you thought you had, so it's very critical on the race car.
And of course, inflation is the only way that you can affect stagger. You inflate it more to make it bigger, and of course pull air out to make it smaller.
That's right. Sometimes you'll see guys inflate a right rear tire up to 30 pounds to stretch it when they first mount it. So when they let it down to their 20 pounds, it'll be the size that they want.
That is 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. All those drivers struggling to get into the main event. The white flag is out, and Stauffer right now has the advantage, but Leon Dixon is going to take one last look at it. He knows this is the last lap. Gary Fidoa, meanwhile, is way out front. This is the midpoint of the backstretch. He is going to win easily. He has an entire straightaway lead on Mark Alderson. And running in 3rd position is Tim Champlin. And 4th place is up for grabs, and we'll follow it for you. There is Fidoa. He's going to win easily. There he takes the checkered flag. Here comes 2nd place, Alderson. Watch for 3rd place, Champlin. There is yellow. Now here comes the fight for 4th place. Is it going to be close? Look at Dixon. He looks to the inside. He doesn't make it.
No. Leon's a good racer. He races down at Lawrenceburg every week with Greg Staub, and he's been around for quite a few years, and he's a hard charger.
Lawrenceburg, of course, is a quarter-mile dirt track that's just on the Indiana side of the Ohio-Indiana border, not too far from Cincinnati, Ohio. But Gary Fidoa, who qualified so well here tonight, remember he had that problem in his heat race. He could well be in a position for one of his finest USAC Sprint features ever. He has never won one of these USAC Sprint car main events. Fidoa wins at Alderson 2nd, Champlin is 3rd, Stauffer is 4th, and Leon Dixon, he becomes the first alternate for the main event. But if all those other people in front of him are ready to go, he'll watch this one from the pit area. There is Fidoa pulling up. Fidoa and his family, I think we told you earlier. Hello, Gary. How you doing there? Have been in the sport of motor racing for a long time. Their family has roots back in the same part of the country that spawned Nolan and Gordon Johncock and Sam Sessions. The race drivers from the central part of southern Michigan have always been very strong, and Gary Fidoa is upholding that tradition. Gary's with him.
Well, the steering wheel is off and the helmet is off, and now he climbs out of the cockpit. And Gary, after that qualifying run, we really did not expect to see you in the semi. What happened in that heat race?
Well, we broke a pressure line. Lost a lot of oil.
Sometimes, especially on dirt, the drivers like to go through a semi and they can check the track out. What did you learn about the track? Has the track condition changed any from the heat race?
Well, it's a little slicker than it was, but there's a lot of oil on it now. But it'll be all right for the future. It's not too bad.
Any changes to the chassis you may make now?
Yeah, a little bit. We're a little bit loose right in the center of the corner, but other than that, it's pretty good.
We have labeled you an expert on pavement. So the pressure is on now, bud.
Well, I don't know about that, but we'll do our best.
All right, a lot of laps on pavement. He should be one to watch in the feature event.
Well, 1989 marks the first decade, the 10th anniversary of ESPN as a network, and that also means the 10th anniversary of motor racing in our sport. And we're about to show you something from midsummer of 1979. Lenny Waldo will be up the front end on this one, and Bruce.
Briefly, the lineup on the pole, and car number 92 will be Lenny Waldo. The outside front row, Bruce Walkup. Row number 2 is car number 40, Bob Fry. He's flanked by Greg Leffler in car number 43. The third row finds Steve Chassey, this afternoon's fastest qualifier, in car number 67. Jeff Bloom in car number 47, another one of the Roadsters. The green flag waves, and we have a start.
Yes, we do. It's Walkup challenging, but Waldo takes the lead coming off the second corner. Fry's in third, and Chassey's up to fourth. The fast qualifier already got by Greg Leffler.
Lenny Waldo has led many of these races in the early laps in the past 2 seasons. He has made a habit of qualifying in the first 5 or 6 starting up front. You can expect Waldo to run smooth and fast for the first 5 or 6 laps of this race. Steve Chassey moving into turn number 3. He's now into turn number 4. Checkered flag coming up for Steve Chassey as he wins feature race number 1. Second place now coming off the 4th turn. There it is, Greg Leffler. Here comes the battle for 3rd off of turn number 4.
That, of course, was Johnny Parsons and an ESPN announcer called Larry Newber. 1979, and Greg Leffler, the son of a great car builder, went on to be champion that year when Bubby Jones, in effect, crashed himself out of the championship at Eldora, also an ESPN race.
Weekends at my morning place, I like to take it slow. Get my breakfast fast, then I make it last. It's the best time that I know. Relaxing with a good time, great taste. You know there's only one place for my weekend McMorning, McDonald's.
Life's full of simple pleasures, like the comfort of Levi's jeans. Or had you forgotten?
For great personal service and low everyday prices, check the lineup at your neighborhood True Value hardware store, where the August True Value of the month is the Master Mechanic retractable knife and scraper set. The knife is adjustable to cut a variety of surfaces, and the razor-sharp scraper removes paint and decals. During August, get the Master Mechanic knife and scraper set for just $1.99, where you see the banner at participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the Goodyear Eagle line of high-performance street radials, the best-selling performance tires in the world. Goodyear Eagles, for the spirit of a champion that's in all of us.
Back at Clermont, Indiana for the Hardee's Deluxe Racing Series, this is the Loctite Crestliner Vans USAC Sprint Car Division from Indianapolis Raceway Park. This is Jack Hewitt in the car normally driven by Steve Butler, who is sitting next to me here in the broadcast booth tonight, getting ready for tonight's main event. We are just a few moments away from the push-off of these high-powered sprint cars for that race. Now, that 10-year anniversary for ESPN and motor racing comes up on September 7th. And we've got a little message here from Bob Jenkins that will give you an opportunity as to how you can be involved in that celebration. It's been a glorious decade of motor racing, perhaps the most important in the history of this sport.
Here's your chance to make ESPN auto racing history. On Thursday, September 7th, ESPN will be celebrating its 10th anniversary. Auto racing has played a big part in the growth of the network over this decade. We have had the opportunity to share many of the sport's greatest moments with you. And now here is your chance to tell us which events and competitors had the greatest impact on you. Based on your votes, ESPN Speed Week will name your selections on Thursday, September 7th at 7:30 Eastern. You're asked to fill out a postcard and drop it in the mail to be received no later than Friday, September 1st. To vote for your choice of racing team of the decade, that can also include car owner, top racing story of the decade, driver of the decade, and race of the decade. Now, all racing series are eligible. Mail your selections to ESPN Speed Week, Post Office Box 449183, Indianapolis, Indiana 46202. If you wish, include your name and return address, and you will be placed on a mailing list that Speed Week is compiling for a future newsletter.
Winston Cup racing, of course, has become a very important part of motor racing on ESPN as you're watching tonight's USAC Sprint Car feature begin to line up. Again, this Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, the Budweiser at the Glen, Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, and of course, Ricky Rudd. Can he finally pull off the trick and win the Unocal Challenge worth almost $130,000? Now, Gary Lee is standing by with another installment of the more lighter-hearted aspect of motor racing.
Well, Benny Parsons, our colleague from the Winston Cup races, has asked all the race fans to send him their favorite hat, and he takes the goofiest, the most appropriate, the cutest, the funniest, and wears it, okay? And then he donates it to some charity, and they can auction it off and raise some money. Well, last night at the Winchester Speedway for the Super Modifieds and the All-American Midgets, Ben Tuttle came up to me and said, here is a souvenir hat from the Anderson Speedway from 1961. It was then called Sun Valley. That's the home of the little 500. He said, give this to Benny. Well, heck with giving it to Benny. I'll wear it this evening. So, Ben from Winchester, Indiana, we thank you for this hat, and we'll give it to some charity, and we'll auction it off, and we'll make some money. So, the racing will continue momentarily here from Indianapolis Raceway Park with the USAC Sprint Cars.
Your VCR is about to explode as man and machine wreak havoc. The world's best push their talents to the edge and beyond. The action is brutal. The danger is real. The name of the game is survival, and not everyone can play. You will be there. You'll see it all. Sports cars, stockers, off-road, motorcycles. 60 radical minutes of mechanical mayhem and motorized madness. This is the best and most exciting racing action video you will ever see. Others may imitate, but you're watching the original havoc. Up in the air or down in the mud, it's all pure havoc. Order now. Call 1-800-847-7000. COD orders send $39.95 plus $3 shipping and handling to Power Sports, P.O. Box 6838, Encino, California 91416. Order now. This is a limited offer.
This is the Hardee's Deluxe Racing Series from the Indianapolis Raceway Park in Clermont, Indiana, and we're getting all set to go for the main event. Let's talk a little bit about that record that Rich Vogler is going after. He has won 162 times in all of USAC competition. He has won over 120 races in national events, and he has 34 wins in a combined Western Midgets, Regional Midgets, and Special Midget events. There is Vogler side by side with A.J. Foyt. They're both tied with 162 victories. Vogler wins tonight. History.
Yeah, it sure will be a good record for Rich, but you have to remember, Larry, that back in A.J. Foyt's day, the sprint car drivers moved up into Indianapolis car racing fairly quickly, and in this day and age, the sprint car drivers tend to stay racing sprint cars and midgets for a long, long time, so that definitely colors the accomplishment. But A.J. and Rich are both fine race drivers.
Rich Vogler has had a controversial week. Those of you who were watching last week know what happened there, that there were some who blamed Rich for what happened in an incident in a midget feature. There were no injuries that resulted from that particular incident. He was involved in an Indianapolis car crash with Steve Chassey on Sunday, and it's important to note that neither one of the drivers blamed the other one for that incident happening intentionally, and I think that's the most important point. Here is the lineup for tonight's 30-lap main event. On the inside is Greg Staub. On the outside from Liverpool, New York, the Oswego champion is Doug Hebron. In row number 2 on the inside is Wayne Hammond from the state of Florida. He won 2 races ago here, televised sprint car, and Gary Fedor, whom you just saw win the semi-feature. In row number 3, the second fastest qualifier, Jeff Gordon. He crashed in warm-ups tonight. And Rich Vogler, a brand new track record, sits on the outside. In row number 4, Mark Alderson inside, Gene Lee Gibson on the outside. He won at Winchester last night. In row number 5, Jack Hewitt, whom you're riding with right there. That's Jack's right hand on the steering wheel. And Eric Gordon, who won his heat race. He's in the top 5 in points. In the 6th row, T.J. Nish has taken over for Jack Houdenchild in car number 32U. And David Harrison from the Tiffin, Bettsville, Ohio area in northwestern Ohio starts on the outside. In the 7th row, John Murphy in the blue number 73, the young graduate of midgets, and Jim Keeker, another midget grad in car number 6R. In row number 8, side by side from Toledo, Ohio, Jerry Niemeyer, and car number 34, Chip Thomas. In the 9th row, the cars are numbered 21, And 10, the states represented are Florida and Michigan. The drivers are Red Stoffer and Bill Tyler. In the 10th and final row, Tim Champlin in the yellow car number 8X and Larry Fritz in the white car number 8. Well, the fans will salute this field as they come by on their parade lap formation this time, Steve, and I think the question is, can Vogler turn the trick?
Well, I think he's got an excellent shot, but, you know, Gary Fedewa, he's been looking good all night. He won the B main by quite a bit. He qualified well. We've got Doug Hevron and Jeff Gordon up there, and also Wayne Hammond. So it's going to be a real dogfight for the lead. I don't think that Rich is going to have this one handed to him at all.
Interesting. You have been watching Fedewa all night long. I've heard that name come out of your lips several times. He's never won one of these main events. But, you know, a couple weeks ago, I picked Don Schilling in a midget. He'd never won before. He came through for me, so maybe Fedewa will for you.
All right.
30 laps to go. Well, let's talk about picking winners. Do you want to take Fedewa?
Well, that's a good question. I think that it'd be hard to bet against Rich. You know, Rich really is fast in that V6. He's got it working real good, and I guess what I really ought to do is hope that the Stoops Freightliner car with Jack Hewitt wins, because I'm going to be driving that car again soon.
Okay, this is the last lap before green. Gary, how about your selection for tonight?
I will take young Jeff Gordon, because Gordon has the old ride that Jack Hewitt was driving a few weeks ago. So I'll take Jeff. He was the second quick qualifier this evening.
Well, we've got a sort of a partial vote for Fedewa, don't we? We have a vote for Gordon. Hammond has won recently. I'm going to go with somewhat of a sentimental choice. Yeah, I agree. It's hard to pick against Vogler, but I think that Doug Hevron, starting from the outside pole, may have his best chance. I think a real key for Hevron is taking care of that right rear tire. We've got a green flag and the race is underway.
And there goes Hammond down on the inside.
Lap number 1 of 30 to go. Moving on the outside, Dennis Hevron. He takes the early lead. Greg Staub is second. Hammond looks down low. And there comes Vogler. He gets so low, he picks up chalk as he goes into turn number 3. Lap number 1 down, and Hammond has that inside lane that Vogler would like to have. Now, Wayne Hammond is right now where Vogler would like to be racing as we go back and ride with Jack Hewitt.
And Jack's going down the straight. He's going for the bottom. He didn't get quite down to the grass, but he's got Vogler right up there in front, so he can't be doing too bad. He's right behind Vogler.
That's 6th, 7th, and 8th. The yellow car number 2B is Gene Lee Gibson. Right ahead, there's the orange number 23 of young Jeff Gordon, the high school graduate of this May. And Hammond kind of squirts through on the inside and moves into the 3rd position. Riding once again with Jack Hewitt.
It looks like Jack's got a bit of a push going into the turn. You can see him turn his wheels into the inside, and he has to get out of the gas there, and the other cars are pulling away from him a little bit. So see, he's turning the wheels to the inside. He's pushing just a little bit. He didn't have to get off the gas that time, though, so maybe he's getting the hang of it handling that way.
There's on the outside of the view you were just looking at. There is Vogler. He has just moved underneath Jack Hewitt. But the interesting part of this race is that Vogler has not been able to break from the pack.
Somebody sideways up there ahead, Gary.
Gene Lee Gibson continues to lead. That yellow and red number 2 that you just saw there of Gene Lee Gibson is running in 4th. And he has kind of slithered away from Greg Staub, Jeff Gordon, and Rich Vogler. Now we're back with the 8th running Jack Hewitt.
Yeah, we just saw Jack get a big push again there in the 3rd and 4th turn, and he had to get out of the gas, and I think Mark Alderson went right by on the inside. So
there goes Jeff Gordon now. Jeff Gordon. Gordon gets very sideways between turns 3 and 4. Staub slips by, and Vogler looks like he's got an opportunity, but no, Gordon closes that door. So Vogler definitely exercised a little bit of discretion there.
Yeah, Jeff is really driving hard, and I think that Greg is holding him up a little bit, and they're both drivers are real anxious to get past him and get a shot at the leaders. You know, the longer they have to follow Staub, the harder it's going to be to catch up and have a chance at winning the race. Here goes Vogler on the inside. He's got him.
Just 6 laps to go, and you see some unburnt fuel coming out of the exhaust header of Jeff Gordon's car. He's the only car letting that out tonight.
Yeah, it must be a little bit of the way that they've gotten the fuel injection adjusted on. He goes for the dive boot. There goes Vogler. It's a double dive.
Double dive going into turn number 3. Gordon got sideways midway through the corner as Emily Vogler, Rich Vogler's wife, looks on, and Vogler has still not gotten around Jeff Gordon.
No, two great racers here racing side by side. Vogler looks like he's getting a pretty good angle on him, though. This could be it. Rich dives in low and slides out in front of him. That's a classic pass.
The Butler dive is a single one on this lap, and Rich Vogler gets underneath Jeff Gordon. He has completed 9 laps now as you're watching. Looks like the 7th and 8th running cars. Still, it is up front. Doug Hebron is the leader. There is Mark Alderson and Eric Gordon. They are in 8th and 9th place right now. It's turn 3, turn 4. The white number 52 of Mark Alderson, the former Daredevil driver from South Dakota, and Eric Gordon, the young driver who came up through the quarter midget ranks and remembers racing with Jeff Gordon. There is first, second, and third.
It's our two guys there, Hebron and Fedewa. They're putting on a great race, and here comes Hammond too. So.
And Fedewa has just gotten around Wayne Hammond. Hammond was running second to Hebron just a few laps ago. 11 laps down now of 30. And once again in black, it's Doug Hebron, the former Oswego champion from Liverpool, New York. Gary Fedewa from Michigan in car number 42, the Trisac Sprint Car champion. And Wayne Hammond, the Florida racer, in the bright Robin's Egg Blue number 66.
Well, Rich Vogler is a straightaway behind these guys, so it's going to be interesting to see if his V6 can build enough speed without a yellow flag to catch up to these guys. And there's a yellow flag now, Larry. Tim Champlin crashed in number 3.
And it looks like a pretty solid hit. As you can see, significant damage to the front end of that car. And Tim was leaning back in the seat and kind of taking check of all of his faculties there, wasn't he?
Yeah, you know, he put on a pretty spectacular drive in the B main, so I'm sorry to see him out of the race.
Tim Chaplin has crashed in turn number 3, where we had a lot of action 1 week ago. And as Steve Butler mentioned earlier in this broadcast, that is the race, the part on this racetrack where normally you can get more done than anywhere else because it's most smooth, and the drivers, they like to hot foot through there as fast as they quickly can. We've had 11 laps now completed in this race. And the safety crew goes over to Tim Chaplin. Looks like that he is moving around. Gary is moving over that way. And it looks like the situation is pretty well in hand there in turn number 3. So we'll take this break during this first yellow flag in tonight's main event.
This is unbelievable. People are knocking down the doors and falling head over heels to get ESPN's Biff Bam Boom Anything Goes bloopers video cassettes. But you don't have to fight the crowds or even get out in all that traffic because you can get your own exclusive copy of the amazing Biff Bam Boom Anything Goes bloopers free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated, the weekly sports magazine that covers all the sports better than all the rest. Always hard-hitting, these high-flying bloopers are 45 minutes of the silliest slap-happy sights you've ever seen or heard. You'll go round and round, up and down, through the fence, across the street, and over the wall. You'll bounce here, there, and everywhere, from one sport to another, all over the world. But don't let your guard down for a second. You have to be ready for it all, because nothing beats ESPN's Biff Bam Boom Anything Goes bloopers.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
People will do almost anything to see what happens when anything goes, but all you have to do is call this number now to get it all free from Sports Illustrated. And if you call now, not only will you get this great videotape free, you'll also get SI's 35th anniversary edition. It's an all-star look at almost 4 decades of sports. Then you'll get a beautiful start of the new decade with the 1990 edition of the famous swimsuit issue. Filled with sunny surprises, it's included free with your subscription. Plus, you get season previews of your favorite sports and the excitement of SI every week. And you save almost 50% off the cover price. You pay in 3 monthly installments of only $9.95 each, and you can charge it. That's 21 issues in all, including the free swimsuit issue. Call the number on your screen now and save on SI and get the amazing Biff Bam Boom Anything Goes bloopers and the swimsuit issue free. Plus SI's anniversary issue and all the action of Sports Illustrated every week. Get set. Stay ahead of the crowd. Call now and get ESPN's Biff Bam Boom Anything Goes bloopers free from SI.
The top 10, the man who started in the outside, or on the outside of the front row, Doug Hebron, continues to lead. Gary Fedewa has moved up to second. Wayne Hammond is in third. The first 2 drivers have never won a USAC Sprint Car feature. Gene Lee Gibson is in fourth. Rich Vogler is now running in 5th position after a great battle with the 6th running Jeff Gordon. Eric Gordon, no relation, is 7th. Mark Alderson is 8th. Greg Staub is 9th. And David Harrison has moved up to 10th.
Well, Larry, we've just seen Jack Hewitt come into the pits and make some substantial chassis adjustments. I saw crew chief Phil Poore cranking on the weight screws, and he was also measuring the tire stagger. And I imagine they've put some more stagger in the car and also put more right rear weight in it to try to get that push out that's making Jack have to get out of the gas in the turn, and it's really hurting him. So we'll have to watch him close and see how those chassis adjustments help him.
So Jack Hewitt, who won at Kokomo a USAC sprint car feature earlier this year, gives up 9th position, goes all the way back to about 19th position, and hoping that the changes they have made in the chassis will make this car go faster and allow Jack perhaps to get an even higher finish than what he was headed for. You're riding with Jack Hewitt, the cage cam, as he moves up to the tail of the field, and he really has his work cut out for him now.
Now, one thing we'll have to watch is his hands. If he still has to turn his hands more than about 1/8 of a turn to the inside, that means he's still got that push. But since they made so many adjustments, there's a chance they went too far and he'll be loose. And you'll know that because he'll have to turn his hands to the right to keep the car from spinning out. So we'll take a look at him inside the car and see how these adjustments work.
Reminding you that SportsCenter follows this broadcast immediately. We'll be back here next Thursday night for the USAC midget races. The Jolly Rancher Candy Series travels to Norton, Ohio this Friday night at the Barberton Speedway. In the meantime, then moves on to Cloverly Speedway in Ohio on Saturday night. But it's next Thursday back here at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. Of course, as usual, we are approaching another very full weekend of sports on ESPN. The Buffalo Bills versus the Cincinnati Bengals, 8 p.m. on Sunday night. NFL preseason as we go back to the green flag. And going into turn number 1, a big spin. It's Wayne Hammond who triggered that. He was the first one to go around. I saw at least one other car go hard into the outside wall.
I think it's Vogler.
And at this point, it's just impossible to tell who everybody involved in. Wayne Hammond was the first car. And you think Vogler might have been involved?
Yes, Vogler's up there. Wayne Hammond and car number 8, that must be Larry Fritz.
That's Larry Fritz and John Murphy in the blue number 73. And all kinds of confusion as the field raced into turn number 1. And Rich Vogler is getting out very slowly. Apparently, Rich making significant contact with somebody. And Larry Fritz is bent over there in turn number 1. I think that's Wayne Hammond asking for some assistance as he went into a big spin going there into the first turn. You know, I just caught the out of the corner of my eye, and it looked like the Gary Fidoa might have also have gone into a big spin. They both really cooked it hard going into turn number 1.
Yeah, I missed that, Larry, so I'd like to see the replay, and maybe we can analyze a little bit better what happened.
Okay, here's what it looks like in the replay, Steve. See what you can find out as we look at this.
Okay, it looks like Gene Lee ran into the back of Hammond and started him spinning. You can definitely see a jolt there, and he started spinning. And then here comes Larry Fritz. Now, we don't see what happens to Vogler. You know, Vogler seemed to be in a separate incident.
Vogler, I think, might have gotten involved in Wayne Hammond when Hammond went around. I saw Rich shooting through here. Now, let's watch for Vogler in the white number 69.
Here's Vogler up ahead.
There's Vogler in the center of the racetrack.
Yeah, Vogler hits the left front of Gene Lee.
Yeah, Gene Lee
that's what starts him.
Gene Lee is caught between Hammond and Vogler. Rich goes up and hits the outside wall, breaks off that right front wheel. He hit very hard. Then he goes and hits it a second time. And spinning there on the inside, that's John Murphy. And I think getting involved is Jack Hewitt in the Stoops number 1 car. Looks like it down there.
No.
But I don't think he made any contact, Steve. Looked like that he just had nowhere to go. We are...
Okay. Okay,
now,
here's Hewitt.
This is a live shot we're looking at right now as Hewitt is back on the track and moving up behind Jerry Niemeyer there, moving to the tail. Now, this is a replay of what happened here on that restart.
Okay, there's Jerry Niemeyer getting sideways in front of him.
Down the front
Hewitt's going high.
Hewitt goes to the high side.
That was bad for him because that's where all the action occurred, was out on the outside.
Now everybody jumps on the binders.
Yeah, you can see the tire smoke. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Oh, man. Who was that?
That was John Murphy who had spun. You can see the number 73 spinning around. And Jack actually gave him a pretty good jolt, but that was a situation as we continue to work on Larry Fritz there in turn number 1, where Jack didn't really have any decision to make as he entered turn number 1. He made that call to go to the high side. Here it is on real time, Steve. He comes down the backstretch, getting ready for the green flag. Now, you know, he didn't really make a mistake. He had to make a decision to go high or low as Jerry got out of shape here, coming off the 4th turn. Then he goes into the 1st corner, and there's just nowhere to go.
No, and it looks like he's real fortunate because he looks like he hit the other car directly with his front bumper. So hopefully when you do that, you don't damage the wheels or the suspension. So unless he bent the front torsion tubes and has bound up the torsion tubes, he should be in good shape.
Well, Gary Lee is standing by down on pit side and track side trying to get us the most current information on the situation, Gary.
Well, first we can tell you that the emergency crew is working up behind the ambulance right now with Larry Fritz. The rescue squad is there also working in the oiling situation on the racetrack. We have now with us John Murphy. You really had no place to go, so tell us what it was like from your cockpit.
The way I saw it, it looked like Vogler's right rear came off and started the whole thing. And everybody was just trying to slow down and get out of the way, and either I got popped in the back or just trying to stop caused me to lose it.
Okay, so once again, a lot of damage down here. We understand we're breaking up, so let's go back to Larry.
Okay, Gary. Well, John Murphy is from Indianapolis, Indiana, and Larry Fritz, who has now been removed, is also from the Indianapolis area on the north side of town here from Carmel, Indiana. He was conscious as they took him out of that race car. That is not he in the machine right now. They are trying to get that car set up to take it back into the pit area. So this yellow flag will continue. We're not going to go red. The main event still has a full 20 laps to go. Remember, stay tuned for Sports Center, which will follow immediately the race.
Road Handler treadlocks. Test them for 1,000 miles. If you don't agree they're the toughest tires you've ever owned, Sears will buy them back. Great low prices every day. Road Handler Tough. That's your money's worth and a whole lot more.
Apple, lemon, blueberry, boysenberry, rhubarb, cherry.
What was one before cherry?
Rhubarb. Rhubarb.
It's a plant. What's a rhubarb?
A vegetable. It's about yay long.
We're out of rhubarb.
Interested in a better hand soap? Not me, I can go. I don't need no lava soap, no. Regular soap won't always work, but lava with pumice will. Interested? No, no, no. Lava, but don't try to cope without it soap.
A few words on the new world of business.
There's just so much information that I've got to be selective. I'm in marketing. I live and breathe market share. If I'm in touch, then I've got an edge.
Today's Wall Street Journal. Faster, tougher, smarter. Call 800-372-3000 for this special Journal offer. 12 weeks, just $29.75 with a money-back guarantee. Call 800-372-3000 now for the Wall Street Journal.
ESPN is your ticket to Sunday night NFL when the Bills and Bengals go head-to-head. The Bills hope it's payback time as Machine Gun Kelly leads a heavily armed team ready to explode. The Bengals know it's a jungle out there and are ready to defend their turf in this AFC Championship rematch. Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann bring you the head-to-head action of Sunday night NFL at 8 Eastern, live on ESPN.
Again, that'll be Sunday night. The NFL preseason continues on ESPN. Here's the rundown after 11 laps of 30 in the main event tonight. Doug Heaven, the leader. Gary Fido was second. Gene Lee Gibson, who might have triggered that incident, is in third. Jeff Gordon survives to fourth. Mark Alderson drives through spinning cars and comes in fifth position now. 6th through 10th are Eric Gordon, Greg Staub, David Harrison, TJ Nish, subbing for Jack Haudenchild and Jim Keeker. We will not go green this time. The field was indicated by Bill Carey, the official starter, that we would go green, but something else has developed on the racetrack. In the meantime, let's us go down and visit again with Gary Lee.
Well, we have taken that long walk from the infield near turn 1 back to the pit area. Wayne Hammond, what happened?
Well, my car's running real good. The Larson Racing engine was holding up just fine, and I come down into turn number 1, and I got bumped into the 42 a little bit there. He'd slowed down a little bit, and somebody run up underneath me and turned me around, and the day was over.
Could you see what happened with Larry Fritz in the white number 8?
No, sir, I sure could.
So you're okay, but some serious damage to the race car?
Yes, sir. It just bent the front axle and tore up a few radius rods, and it was a shame. I was just sitting there running good. The Larson Racing engine was really running great, and just sitting there where we wanted to be.
It was a long walk back, but he's okay.
Wayne Hammond from Tampa, Florida, in the quick load aluminum boat trailer special, 27 years of age, and He has a lot of experience on both dirt and pavement. Now let's take a look one more time here in turn number 1. There is the yellow number 2, we believe, with Gene Lee Gibson behind the wheel, getting into the back of Wayne Hammond. Now watch for the white number 8 of Larry Fritz, Steve.
And here he comes. He really hasn't hit the wall yet. It looks like he's got a fairly shallow angle on it. Yeah, it's really hard to tell what happened to him there, because it didn't seem like there was any. No.
That white car on the inside there, that's Jim Keeker. He avoids getting involved. You're looking at Gene Lee Gibson, the Johnny Vance Aristocrat product race car that may or may not have gotten into the back of Wayne Hammond as the field went into number 1, and I can't tell from this angle whether or not we got any damage up front there.
Well, you know, at first it looked like Gene Lee Gibson just ran into the back of Hammond, but when we saw it that last time, you could see that Gary Fedewa did slow down. In fact, it looked like he almost ran into the back of Doug Hebron, had to slow down, and then Hammond tapped him, and then Gene Lee got into Hammond. So it was kind of a chain reaction thing. I don't think it was anybody's fault. It was just a racing incident.
Larry Fritz, who has been removed to a hospital here, had serious injuries about 10 years ago in another open wheel crash. He's a veteran of sprint car and midget racing here in the Indianapolis area. Well, Bill Carey is looking over the field with 11 laps down. The green flag is out and the feature is finally re-green again. This time safely through 1 and 2. Everybody has certainly had an adequate opportunity to cool off the tires. So if anyone was punishing the tires running up in that front group, now they have an opportunity to really cool them down.
Jack Hewitt really looks fast. He's moved up 3 positions already. So it doesn't look like that crash has hurt him any, and it'll be interesting to see how those adjustments work on his car.
That's Jim Keeker that Hewitt goes to the inside of as they move through turn 1 and 2. You can see how close they're running it. Better than 100 miles an hour. They straighten out and charge down the back straightaway. Now to turn number 3. Hewitt's going to try the high side of Keeker.
Good. Hewitt seems to have just a bit of that push left.
Doug Hebron, who has spent his entire career on pavement, but in a low-slung, wide-bodied, super modified, is holding his own against a charging Gary Fedewa and Gene Lee Gibson. Actually, all 3 of these drivers are graduates of super modified racing. There is back in the 7th, 8th, and 9th position. No, that's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd again. It is Hebron, Fedewa, and Gene Lee Gibson.
Yeah, but here comes Jeff Gordon, and he's going to come up there and make it a 4-way battle, Larry.
Doug Hebron, and look at the big charge that Gibson makes, and he dives down inside of Gary Fedewa in turn number 3 and moves up 1 position. Boy, he charged in there quickly.
He sure did. Gibson looks strong. He's got that number 3 dive down.
Johnny Vance in this car, of course, were involved in a very serious-looking head-on crash.
Going again.
Going for the lead. Gibson slides into turn number 3, loses traction.
Hebron goes on by.
But it looks like Gibson is going to hold on. Gene Lee Gibson takes over the number 1 position as Hebron drops back, and look at Gibson immediately put some distance, some daylight between himself and the 2nd and 3rd running car.
He sure is, Larry. Now Fedewa is going to have to hurry up and get by Hebron, or he's going to be out of the picture, because Gene Lee is stretching it out.
Remember the last time the sprint cars raced here, Gene Lee had that frightening looking crash when he went head on into a wall on the inside of turn number 4. This race car, or at least this race team, also ran at the Kokomo Speedway last night in a wing World of Outlaw race. So this will be a very interesting win for Gene Lee Gibson, Johnny Vance, and the team from Dayton, Ohio, the Aristocrat Product Sprint Car. 18 laps are now complete. There is Jeff Gordon in the orange and blue trim, number 23. You can just see him sneaking in on the right-hand side of your screen. The leader is Gene Lee Gibson, whose father, Todd Gibson, was a super modified pilot for many years. Fact is, he still races, and he's still winning races at places like the Sandusky Speedway over in Ohio. Gene Lee has graduated on to places like Oswego, New York, and Phoenix, Arizona, and now here at IRP. Gary Lee has Rich Vogler.
Well, Rich, we said before the race, it's tough to bet against Rich Vogler at Raceway Park, but in a situation like that, there's not much you can do.
Well, there wasn't. I tell you, a bunch of cars started to crash in front of me. I went for the bottom, but I didn't quite get away from him in my Buick Hoffman Racing Hoosier Tire car. I just happened to catch him just a little bit with the right rear, and it stopped me.
We've had some conflicting reports on track conditions. Some drivers say, hey, I think it's okay. They're saying it's very, very slick out there.
No, I think the track is just fine. I didn't see any oil on the racetrack, and I was chasing the leaders down before that yellow flag came out. So my Buick Hoffman car was really working good tonight. It's just unfortunate after the yellow that a couple of cars tangled and I wound up in it.
You were about to change clothes. We stopped you. We'll let you go back and change clothes. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Up front, Gene Lee Gibson continues to lead. There you see the interval between first and second. And second, third, and fourth are very quick. Meanwhile, this guy right here, Jack Hewitt, is driving a snowplow.
Yeah, he's just got it cocked all the way. You see the smoke coming off the right front tire. Look at that. That's a severe push. He has to, when it pushes like that, Gary, he has to let off the throttle and let the car turn. If he'd stay in the throttle, he'd just drive right into the fence. You can see it smoking. In fact, you can even see the ribs on the tire.
Jack is running in 9th position, make that 10th, 11th, maybe 12th now, as he is just getting no traction. As you pointed out, he's really punishing that right front tire, and he is fortunate he's even able to keep it on the racetrack.
Yeah, you know, Gary, on the pavement, when you start punishing a tire like that, it just gives up on you. So yeah, it's blistering. Every lap that he has to drive it that way, you can see the row of we'll wait till he gets straight and the smoke comes off of it. But you can, well, we don't have the light here. On the front straightaway, we'll be able to get a better look at it. But every lap that he does that, it gets hotter and hotter, and it's just going to be kind of a snowball. It's going to get worse and worse. You can see on the outside rim, the black line is where the rubber is actually splitting and parting from the tire. It's blistering.
Jack, I think, is going to call it a night. I think he's decided that he has become more of a hazard out there than really trying to run competitively. And Jack Hewitt, who had just a tremendous push, we've got a terrific view of that, is come to a halt, or is coming to a halt. He's running very slowly in turn number 3. Now, if you're tuning in for Sports Center, reminding you once again we are on lap 26 of 30 of this USAC Sprint Car feature in Clermont, Indiana, the Indianapolis Raceway Park. There you see it on the wall. And Sports Center will follow immediately after the checkered flag tonight. We've had a couple of crashes tonight which have really delayed the action. And incidentally, stay tuned for Sports Center, because Nolan Ryan, we understand, Nolan Ryan is in the 7th inning of a no-hitter. Nolan Ryan just keeps rolling along. How long can that man pitch? Once again, working on a no-hitter tonight. He's in the 7th inning.
3 laps to go, Larry. It looks like Gene Lee's got it pretty well in hand. He's got a pretty good lead, and Doug Heverin looks like he's in pretty good shape in second. So we have to see if Jeff Gordon can get past Gary Fedewa for that 3rd place position.
Yeah, Jeff has been following Gary Fedewa for about the last 10 or 12 laps, and the cars look like they're chained together, almost perfectly matched.
Yeah, you know, Jeff looks like he gets in on him a little bit going into 3, but Gary looks real good coming off the turn.
Gene Lee Gibson is approaching slower traffic as he moves underneath Jerry Niemeyer. Jerry moves over and allows the leader to go underneath. Gene Lee Gibson getting by unscathed. He squirts out going down the backstretch. Fedewa moved in just a little bit.
There goes Jeff Gordon around the outside of Fedewa. The lap traffic is a factor. He's getting squeezed between Fedewa and the lap traffic.
So Gibson wins it. Coming home in second is Gene Lee Gibson, and third goes to, or make that Hebron, of course, is second. Third going to Fedewa, and fourth to Jeff Gordon, as Gene Lee Gibson survives another rugged one here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Now, we'll be back with a little more, perhaps some comments from our winner, Gene Lee Gibson.
I never saw you hit so well. I'm here in 3, you're here in 1. Ah, Bill.
Yeah, how'd you do, Jack?
In 3, out in 3. What are you doing? You're playing your best golf, and every time I look up, you're staring at TV. Saturday cartoons make you so good?
It's a special Golf Digest instructional video. The Golf Digest schools pulled 10 instant golf lessons from their 10 cassette collection.
Graphics, instruction, real professional advice, 10 instant lessons?
It's a half hour of the best stuff for a golfer.
It's priceless.
It's free.
Free?
With my subscription to Golf Digest.
Get a full year of Golf Digest for $16.77. Call 800-348-3300 now and get our free half-hour instructional video with your paid subscription. Call 800-348-3300 now.
95,000 miles and no problems.
Because Quaker State exceeds every single car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
Road Handler treadlocks. Test them for 1,000 miles. If you don't agree they're the toughest tires you've ever owned, Sears will buy them back. Great low prices every day. Road Handler tough. That's your money's worth and a whole lot more.
For reaching deep, for going long, for digging in when things go wrong, for pushing hard in all you do, that extra yard, for coming through this much for you.
Beechwood aged for the taste so crisp and clean, so refreshing. It's the king of beers.
This much for you.
Live in Victory Lane at Indianapolis Raceway Park. When you're hot, you're hot. Last night at Winchester, the Supermod. Congratulations for the sprint car tonight.
Thanks. It was a hard fought. I had to kind of hang it out a couple of times on that one restart going in here to one. They just stopped, and I hit Wayne, and I probably knocked him sideways, but yet Fida was bumpers cocked sideways too, so I think maybe it was just a chain reaction. You know, just one of them unfortunate things. You know, I come out on the good end of the stick. It's the month of August. It's time to get on track and get going.
It's been a good pay week for this guy right here from Ohio.
Tonight's Hardee's Deluxe Racing Series USAC Sprint Cars have been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by Road Handler Treadlock Radials at Sears. Tough tires you can trust. And by Budweiser Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. Coming home in first, of course, was Gene Lee Gibson. Doug Hebron was second. Gary Fida was third. Jeff Gordon is fourth. He is now the points leader again. Mark Alderson was fifth. In sixth was Eric Gordon, Greg Staub, David Harrison, Jack Hewitt, and T.J. Nish. We have a Nolan Ryan no-hitter, perhaps pending tonight in sports, so stay tuned for Sports Center. They'll bring you up with all the world of sports.
Coming up on SportsCenter, the tournament is the PGA. Today, those initials stood for Playing Great, Arnie. But Palmer has some familiar company on the leaderboard. 10 months ago, he couldn't lift his arm. Today, Dave Dravecki was strong enough to lift an entire team.
I cried when I saw him get on the mound and the fans cheered. I cried when they put "Welcome Back, Dave" on the thing.
It was raining runs at Wrigley, but the Phils provided thunder.